See, I could do better than
Chris
Pratt.
That's what me and Allison were talking about. Taking Autumn to go see that movie.
I want to see it. I do because, and I mean, it's
Well, first of all, it looks like it's just like a normal kids movie. There's no type of like weird stuff going on with it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel that I would have appreciated a Mario movie when I was, the appropriate age.
Unfortunately, my daughter does not know who Mario is.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
But she knows who Elsa is.
She does know who Elsa is.
And Ariel.
Yeah, she likes all the Disney princesses, like all little girls do. So,
yeah.
But anyway, so I was talking about before we had jumped on the podcast here, and also welcome to episode 64 of the podcast.
Yes, hello and welcome.
My family, we watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, which is I guess those are the first three major motion pictures of like. They didn't really kick off the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they they were the prequels, if you will.
I think that I actually think that the Hulk movie came out before those. The first Hulk one, the one that was like really super like dark and really super stupid.
Really, because I think that the first Spider-Man came out in 2002.
When did the Hulk movie come out?
I don't know.
For some reason, I feel like the Hulk movie was before. I may be wrong.
It might be. I feel like the Hulk movie was like directly after Spider-Man 1.
Possibly. Yeah, the first Spider-Man movie, the first Sam Raimi one,
it's so good. It's such a good movie.
It is really good, and it's it's just got so much of that Sam Raimi flair in it. You know what I mean? Like anything that guy directs. It's just like, oh, you can tell who did this. Oh, yeah. just like by the way, like everything kind of comes together in the final product.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the first movie was sort of. I don't know if they thought it was going to be as big as it was, but I remember it was a big deal when it came out.
Yeah, very big.
Because I remember just up until that point, nobody was really doing CGI like that. Like Spider-Man, like swinging through the city.
Yeah,
like that was. That was a big deal when that came out, and we watched all three, and I have to say, comparatively, as opposed to what now is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at no point in those movies did like the stakes get higher. You know what I'm saying? Like now it's like the universe has to end in order for
the quantum realm is in danger.
Or in order for there to be like a fucking dopamine hit. So that everybody's like, oh, we understand like the gravity of the situation. Yeah. Whereas like with the Spider-Man one, like, in the second one there's the Doc Ock one where he creates like the miniature sun.
Right.
But, it was never like the stakes never got higher. Yeah. Like in the third one, like it's just like they have to save Mary Jane.
Right.
Like the stakes kind of come down a little bit, but the storytelling increases.
Yeah, it was like the theme stayed true to like TV superhero shows.
Right.
Like Superman, I gotta go save Lois Lane. It was about that dramatic. It was never like, here comes Space Barney.
Right. Well, I think that they could still tell those stories like that. Like you just
I think they could too, yeah.
And like
you keep it real grounded, you know.
And it seems to me that, and maybe it's different because it's Spider-Man, but in these three, it seems like there's a lot more nuance to the villains. As opposed to like what the villains are now, where like the villains are now is like he's evil because he's a Nazi.
Yeah. He's evil because he's a fascist.
Whereas like now like they just kind of default to that as opposed to, in the first three Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
There's like, Norman Osborn was succumbed to the pressures of trying to outperform the competition.
Right, yeah.
So he takes his own serum and it causes him to go insane.
And his company that he built with his own two hands,
right?
Fucked him over,
right? And then in 2, Doc Ock's hubris got the better of him, and then like he thought
he could control the sun.
Exactly. So that led him to do that. And then in 3, Like Sandman, I thought Sandman's storytelling was just
Oh yeah,
perfect.
He was just trying to get money for his daughter.
Yeah.
He's just a good guy caught in a bad situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, but he's not really a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like,
He's just down on his luck.
yeah. Like current Marvel movies could fucking never.
No.
They could never do
No.
that.
They'd be like, he's doing it because he's white.
But yeah, the first three they're great movies. I forgot how much I enjoyed those movies.
Yeah.
And actually, I thought the couple with Andrew Garfield, I thought even then the villains had some nuance to them.
Yeah.
Like Dr. What's the guy with the Mr. No Arm?
Dr. Connors.
Yeah, Dr. Connors.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to fix his arm.
Yeah.
And then what was the story with
Electro?
yeah, Jamie Foxx? Wasn't he had like
He fell into a vat of electric eels.
Oh, is that what that was?
That's what that was.
Ah, no, what are you doing?
And it fixed his hair.
Yeah.
Remember, his hairline, he's all bald and weird looking.
Yeah.
And he fell into all those electric eels, and he was like, "Oh, I'm sexy Jamie Foxx."
Whereas, like, I feel like with the Spider-Man movies, like, just like if you take away the last one, I thought the last one was pretty good, but I think that's because they used some nostalgia
Yeah,
in there. So, but like the ones with Tom Holland, it's like I'm trying to increase my following on Instagram, and then like
well,
I guess with the times,
with the times and like the audience and everything, you
Right.
can kind of tell who that's aimed at.
right?
I recently watched, what was the one with all the Spider-Man? Was it No Way Home?
Mm-hmm.
I recently watched that one, and the first time I watched it, I really enjoyed it. Because they were jingling keys in front of me. They knew
Right.
what I wanted to see. And I really, really enjoyed it. And then like I watched it again, and I was like, this for some reason, the pacing feels really weird
No.
in this movie to me. Like a lot of like the dialogue feels very stunted. And like it's almost like they're waiting on something before the next person says their line. And I was like, I think I know what it is. I think they knew that all like the Marvel fanboys and everybody going to the theater to watch this were going to stand up and scream and shit their pants when Andrew Garfield appeared, or when Tobey Maguire, or when they said, "Remember the MacGuffin from 2002?"
No.
They knew that was going to happen, so they gave some breathing room in the movie for those real life moments in the theater.
Right.
And so when you're watching the movie like by yourself at home, you're like, I'm picking up on that. Like I can really tell. Like they're like pause for dramatic effect, and then they'll pick up the dialogue or whatever.
So going back and watching those movies, it seems like, and it might just be my interpretation of it, is that it feels like the same Raimi Spider-Mans feel like they're more a story about Peter Parker as opposed to like a story about Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man fighting the bad guy.
Yeah, Spider-Man fighting the bad guy. Like in these movies, it's more about the struggle that Peter Parker goes through as Spider-Man.
Yeah, which was told really, really well. I think as far as like if you've ever read any of the comics, like that's always been like an overarching theme of Spider-Man. It's like the main thing, right? Is him struggling to balance being Peter Parker with being Spider-Man. And I think that the Sam Raimi movies did the best with that. He had a hard time, with his love life. He had he had a hard time keeping an eye on Aunt May and his best friend and all that stuff. And he couldn't juggle it all at the same time. Yeah. But like, especially with like the Tom Holland Spider-Man, it was just like, whoa, everybody's like, whoa, dude, you're Spider-Man. That's so cool. We don't care what you do with us. We'll be here. Your friends always.
Right.
Just go be Spider-Man. Don't even worry about us. No. And Peter Parker's like, well, I have nothing to worry about. I'll go be Spider-Man. I'll go to space on the big hula hoop ship and fight Thanos. So and I also don't feel that any of them captured the essence of who Peter Parker's character was as well as Tobey Maguire did, because he's such a dweeb.
Especially in 3.
Oh, yeah.
So we were sitting there watching it the other night, and of course, if anybody that has never seen the Spider-Man movies, well, 3 specifically, I implore you to go watch it.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't really have to know anything.
You don't have to know anything about it. The storytelling is very self-contained.
Yeah.
Other than the part with James Franco, like you have to kind of watch the first one. But other than that, it's pretty self-contained. So we're sitting there watching it, and the part everybody knows is getting ready to come up.
Yeah.
And he's walking down the street snapping. And then he like walks into the store, and like you can obviously tell like they've got it like on hinges where like the doors open up and then they close back.
Yeah.
And then it like opens back up again. He like walks out with the all black suit on.
Yeah.
He's like
doing that really like stupid like 70s funk dance.
And Autumn goes, no. And she didn't like the part with him in the jazz cafe either.
Oh, was that
where he's like playing the piano?
Yeah. Is that the same scene where he punches Mary Jane in the face?
Yeah. Like the part where he walks in, he's like whispers to the waitress, he's like, find us some shade, and like slips her a $1 bill. Like, what a fucking dork.
I saw this thing the other day that was like, people were making fun of Sam Raimi because like the scripts in those movies, like if you go back and watch it now with like the current sensibilities, you're going to notice some things that like stand out, like stuff that you might not necessarily be offended by, but you're going to catch that people would be offended by it today.
Right.
Like in the first movie when he's fighting Macho Man Randy Savage in the cage, he's like, "That's a cute outfit. Did your boyfriend make it for you?" Back then, everybody was like, "Ah, ha, ha, he called him gay." Now it would be like a huge fucking problem.
They just have to write the character and be like, "Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. He's great." But in the third movie, he gets...
Oh, the third movie, there's so many good one-liners in that movie.
Well, in the third movie, he gets the black suit, like the symbiote suit or whatever. And somebody was talking about the scene where he's making phone calls with the landlord's like daughter, and they're just kind of like flirting or whatever. He's like the scene after Peter Man. It's me, Peter Man. The scene after Peter Parker becomes evil, he answers the phone and says shalom. It was like, what did Sam Raimi mean by this?
Yeah, I had forgotten how many good one-liners were in that movie.
Yeah. I want to put some dirt in your eye.
Yeah, I want to put some dirt in your eye. You gonna cry now?
Gonna cry now? You want forgiveness? Get religion. I miss one-liners altogether. Like, nobody does one-liners anymore.
You don't see them anymore.
No.
They make such good memes, too.
They do. That's why I like the Expendables so much.
Yeah, it's the whole thing's one-liners.
I tell you exactly why I like the Expendables is because...
Well, number one, they understand what that movie is.
Yes. It strikes the perfect balance between respecting what that movie is and not taking it too seriously.
Right.
Like, and it's a little bit egregious in the last one, where you have Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they say each other's one-liners or catchphrases. Yeah. Bruce Willis goes, "I'll be back," and Arnold Schwarzenegger goes, "Yippee-ki-yay." And you're just kind of like, all right, that was a little bit much. Yeah. But for the most part, those movies they're fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, people understand what it is that they're getting into when they go see the Expendables movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you see the fucking poster for the movie,
and
you're like, oh, it's every action hero ever.
Right.
You know?
Right.
What else could this movie be? It's not going to be a rom-com.
Right.
It's not going to be a period piece.
But yeah, like I said, I had forgotten how good the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans were. But they really do. They stand the test of time.
They do. They're fun.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, you're watching a movie. Why are you watching a movie? Because to be entertained, right?
Right.
And if the movie is entertaining you, that's really all it has to be.
Right.
I mean, if you're going for a more serious tone, you got to put in a little bit more work to achieve that.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's a movie about a guy that gets bit by a spider and swings through a city and fights crime.
Yeah, I mean, how serious can we be here?
Right. Like, he doesn't have to speak on current issues.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, he doesn't have to fly around in, with trans pride flag or anything.
No. Like,
did you ever see, what was the Doctor Strange one? Was it Multiverse of Madness or whatever?
Yeah, I have seen that.
So I watched that, and I thought it was okay. There was always something that kind of felt like, this doesn't feel like.
Oh, he gets the shit kicked out of him in the whole movie.
Well, I mean that, but also like just that something about the movie as a whole didn't feel like, you know, the previous like phase of Marvel. I'm like talking about Captain America all the way up to Endgame.
No.
Like that, I think that is going to be Marvel's like golden era.
Yeah.
Like nothing's ever going to come close to that again.
Well, they should have just killed it after that and just
that should have been it.
Just let it sit for a while.
But the Multiverse of Madness, like the whole time I was like, something is off here. Something is like really, like, it's almost like this movie was rushed.
No.
Like it doesn't seem like the quality isn't there. Like as, you know, it sounds like a really dumb thing to say, oh, Marvel movie quality, whatever. But you're going to make anything, make it good. But like it just felt rushed. It felt like the production was rushed. Like there was things like the CGI was kind of like, a couple times, and like, you know, a lot of the dialogue I felt like wasn't hitting like it was supposed to. And then I got to like looking at like that bar graph, line graph thing or whatever, or chart, whatever you want to call it. It was like, you know, here was phase whatever of the Marvel of the MCU, and it was Captain America all the way to Endgame. And I think it was 11 movies over the course of like 7 years.
No.
And then immediately following that was like 6 shows and like 24 films in 4 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not sustainable.
No.
I was like, that. I think that right there tells me that we're going for quantity over quality at this point. Right. It was like, as long as you've got Chris Hemsworth taking his shirt off, people are going to go watch it.
I heard that he's saying he's not going to do that role no more.
Well, he probably wants to fucking do something else.
Right.
Yeah. Do you blame him?
Well, I mean, they've neutered his character.
Yeah. They definitely have. Yeah, he definitely. He might
as well just walk around and say, duh, swing a hammer.
As far as character assassination goes, I think Thor got the worst of it. Like, I think I would mention before, but if you compare like his character in Endgame to his character in like the first Thor movie,
right,
it's
totally different.
Totally fucking different. Completely fucking different. But the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, those are the same.
Yep.
Same quality all the way through.
Yep.
I still love. I
think with the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, it's like they're self-contained. Like there's nothing else going on here.
Right, yeah. They don't lead into anything bigger.
Really, the only like really horrible mistake that they made was casting Topher Grace as Eddie Brock.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a bad choice.
Yeah. And there was too much FaceTime.
Right.
Like we didn't get enough of Venom. We got a lot of like of Topher's face.
Right.
With like the Party City vampire teeth.
Right.
You know? But I was going to say my favorite thing still to this day is when he's quote unquote transforming in the first movie, and he's like, he falls out of bed, he's like having like a fever dream or whatever, and they're like flashing all those images, and there's like this skull that appears for like a half second, and like some like scream like "Rah!" It's just like, it's the stupidest fucking thing. And I just, like I said, I just know some VFX artist was like, oh, that's fucking sick, man. Yeah, fucking skull.png right there in the middle of it.
It'd been funny if he'd have used a JPEG, and every time they recreated the movie, it just got worse and worse.
Yeah, it's just awful, terrible compressed shit. Yeah, Sam Raimi's, he was a horror movie director, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like you could see a lot of that come through.
Yeah.
With like, especially with shot composition.
Yes.
Because, you know, a lot of times in horror movies, especially, you know, especially like kind of more focused on like thriller types or whatever, or like, you know, supernatural, whatever. And a lot of times in horror movies, you have these very closed in shots, these very tight, claustrophobic shots. And there's a lot of that in the first Spider-Man movie. And it could have something to do with the aspect ratio that the film was shot in, but also like, there's a lot of scenes where like characters are very close to the camera, or they're very like boxed in where they are. And of course they do that in horror films to make you feel uneasy.
Yeah. Well, I think it also could be that during that time period that maybe CGI was not where they wanted it to be. So like if you cut down the amount of CGI space in the shot, then it's not going to be as noticeable.
Right. Unlike, nowadays.
And that might have been why they hired him. As like, how can we get somebody that understands how to do a lot with
how to work in this small space? Right. Yeah. I mean, compare that to, again, Endgame. Have you ever seen like the behind the scenes footage where they've got like all the actors in just a big green void? Just, I don't know.
You're like
yeah. I don't know how you can. I feel like that would be very difficult. At least for me, like if I was an actor and they were like, okay, you've got to pretend to punch 2 aliens and then kick Thanos in the balls, but like pretend there's a big massive battle going on around you and you're just in this quiet sound studio. You just hear like some industrial fan over by the door and it's green everywhere. And it's like, I'm having a real hard time visualizing what this is supposed to be.
Right.
Did you watch that? By the way, did you watch that video I sent you about the Mandalorian?
No, I haven't had a chance to.
So that's really... That's really, really interesting. The video I'm talking about is how they do like the backdrops and stuff in the Mandalorian. It was like people were like, man, like the backgrounds and the lighting and everything on the characters looks so good. It looks almost real. And they're like, there's almost no so what they call spill was like, when you have a big bright green screen, it reflects green light, and sometimes that green light gets on the subject of your shot. So it's a lot of work to put the background you want, but also not have it bleed onto the character.
Right.
So what they've done now is they'll make these what they call virtual sets, and it's a big giant like circular LED screen.
Really?
Like that the actors stand inside of. And they will create the backgrounds in Unreal Engine 5.
Really?
And so like you have like a desert area or like a or anything like like an office building or something like that. And they're just filming the characters, but the background that you're seeing isn't added in post. It's literally being filmed.
No.
And so, of course, because it's an LED screen, all the lighting that's, whatever lighting you've chosen in your backdrop is the lighting that's on your subject.
Right.
And it looks real. Not real, but it looks, like it belongs there. It doesn't stand out. You don't have like a guy who's very like washed out in the middle of the daytime.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because they were showing like, if we want to move this mountain over here, like it's all live. So the guy's got Unreal Engine 5 open, and the producer came like, hey, can we move this mountain over there? And he's like, yeah. And he grabs it with his stylus and he slides it over there.
Yeah.
And then they shoot the scene again.
Yeah, copy paste.
Yeah, it was like that is like I'm sure it's really expensive to set these screens up and do all this stuff, but it was like doing that.
Yeah, probably a return on investment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Plus, it looks fantastic. I mean, that's the biggest thing is the lighting.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's nothing that will like break immersion more than bad lighting.
Right.
You can tell right away like something's up here.
Right.
Like your brain can catch that. But it was also one of the coolest things about it was, so you had that virtual background, and whichever way the camera is facing, I mean it's the background is moving with it. So it's it looks like how you would film in real life. But if anything, it's a testament to Unreal Engine.
Oh yeah,
because I mean some of the shit that people make with that, like all the way back, like in fucking 2012. You remember seeing videos? It was like Super Mario 64 on Unreal Engine, and it was just like this hyper realistic weird Mario like running around, and you're like, yeah, that looks graphically impressive, but also kind of weird because Mario was still made out of meatballs.
Yeah, well, I remember people using like, if I'm not mistaken, I think they would use that to render some of like the like before, like back when Madden was real big, like they would create like there was a specific one where they had like a CGI they rendered like a play or something that had Michael Vick in it.
Yeah.
And it looked almost fucking real.
Yeah.
And then it said Madden, and then of course you get the fucking Madden game. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
But if I'm not mistaken, I think they might have used Unreal Engine for that. If not, then somebody let us know in the "We're sorry" section. We'll read it out loud. But even back then, like, they were still using like the stuff that they were doing was fucking insane.
Yeah. Unreal Engine it's
unreal.
Yeah, it really is. It's a testament to its own name.
Right.
It's really, really fucking impressive. Like, if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, you can look up all kinds of like tech demos and things about it. But the newest one, the version that came out, I think is 5.1. It's Unreal Engine 5.1 with the dynamic lighting. Mm-hmm. So lighting acts. They have lighting now acts the way that lighting acts in real life. So it used to be, you'd have to bake in the lighting, meaning that you would set up your, say if you had a room, right, with a chair in this corner.
Like your set piece.
Yeah, here's a bed, here's a house plant. You would adjust the lighting to how it needs to look, and then you would bake it in so it cannot be changed after that.
Right.
So like if it was being used in a video game, your character walks into this room, it looks the way it's supposed to look, but it's not dynamic. So if your character walks in front of the window where the light's coming from, the side of him that's facing the window doesn't get brighter,
right,
and this side get darker. He's the same lighting all the way throughout.
Right.
But with the dynamic lighting and the real-time lighting, he can disrupt the flow of the light as you would in real life. Which, if you take a second to consider, like, the amount of computation and, like, all the calculations being done with that, with, like, scattering light rays and everything, that's fucking insanity. I can't imagine.
I would be very interested to see the source code for the engine, especially just for, like lighting.exe. Like, I wonder how many if-else statements they have in there.
It's gotta be on
probably like 10,000 lines of if-else.
They just got some goblin chained up to a wall writing that shit. Also, like,
and none of it's commented.
No, not a bit of it. One of the other things it does is, like, it solves a lot of the problems I have with, like, render distances. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you've ever played a game, especially like in an open world game, and you can see, like, very far away there's some trees. Well, the trees that you're looking at that are very far away are very low resolution, very low texture, and they do that to save on memory.
Right.
And as you get closer, it swaps out those models with a higher res model.
Right.
All the way up until you get right up on top of it, and it's like, obviously this is what you're focused on, so we're going to put all the engine's power into this tree. And I don't know how. They explained it in technical terms. It made no sense to me.
Right.
But now they've got it to where wherever you're looking, everything is in full resolution.
No.
I mean, stuff that's far away is going to appear out of focus because you don't see.
Yeah, you don't
like
see
that.
Sharp images way far away.
You don't see like
fucking
that.
Eagle Eye.
But it was like the model itself looks better because it is the whole model.
Right.
And plus, it was like, now that the engine can do that, it saves the artists time. Right. They don't have to create 5 models for every single thing.
Right.
They don't have to make a low res, medium low res, all the way up to high res.
As you're moving closer and closer, the engine knows what to do with that model.
Yeah.
And I think it's also interesting, too, because they won't render anything that's outside of the field of vision for that user.
Yeah.
So there is nothing going on out here.
Yeah.
So, like, as far as the peripheral's concerned, nothing has rendered. So as you're turning, it is also rendering all that information as you're turning.
Yeah, in real time.
In real time, which I think that's cool.
I think that's cool, too, yeah. It kind of feels like there would have to be some kind of a cache. Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be like really choppy, like trying to, the game's like trying to load. Like,
you like turn and it's just nothing, and then it goes, pops it in.
You'd be like, Imagine if that happened in real life one day, like never happened again to you.
I've seen behind the veil,
like the Truman Show. That's a really good movie.
Speaking of technology, you see where old Linus Tech Tips got their channel hacked?
Wait, like his YouTube channel?
Yeah.
No.
Like that and like 3 subsidiary channels.
Oh, really?
Like apparently the hackers got into his Google account.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Yeah. And so apparently, I guess what they did is they used session hijacking, which essentially it circumvents the multi-factor authentication because it uses your cookies. in order to catch that information.
That's crazy. So people found a way around 2FA.
Yep.
Now what? 3FA?
Yeah.
They have to like send
just one more fucking thing I gotta deal with.
Yeah, like you try to like log into Facebook and it just sends you a text, but also you have to FaceTime with a person.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'll log you in now. Man, what a pain in the ass. That's that was my biggest problem with like the whole Google account thing. Like Google having their hands in every single thing. Yeah. Because you have to make this one Google account, and that allows you to log into everything.
Right.
And I understand maybe they're coming from a place of like, this is supposed to be convenient for you, but all it means is that if somebody gets into your Google account, they have access to
everything.
Everything.
Right.
It's why, I don't really care for like, those like phone cases where you could put like all your money and your cards and your ID in there. Because then you can just lose it all at once.
Yep.
Somebody says,
and it's just gone.
Give me your phone. It's like, but also my wallet too. Sorry, here's that as well.
I mean, they could steal my cards, but there ain't nothing on them.
Yeah. Also, by the time you get 5 feet away, I can turn them off.
Yeah.
So
it's like all that plastic right there. It's worth the plastic.
Yeah, it's worth the plastic. You might as well take that to a recycling center and get your 6 cents.
Because there's no money in those accounts.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, I think probably the reason that Google did that is because they're trying to monopolize.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously that's what they're trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
Every company is trying to do. They're trying to get as close to a monopoly as they can without breaking any laws.
Right. Well, I mean, that's Amazon essentially operated at a loss for years and years and years just so they could push out all the competition.
Yeah.
Like that was the business strategy.
Yeah.
Operate at a loss until there's no one else, and then operate at a profit.
You just have to be able to bleed longer than everyone else.
Right. It's like you just took capitalism, you bastardized it.
Oh yeah,
that's what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So a few episodes ago, we talked about Mark Rober. You remember the YouTube guy? He does all the engineering projects and everything. Well, he had posted another video here recently where he was talking about this company called Zipline that does like drone deliveries, and they had this concept of a drone that will it'll like the drone will fly. Say you ordered something like a Big Mac, right? Yeah. And so this drone can go to McDonald's and they can put the Big Mac inside of like this little like thing that the drone drops down, like a little carrier. They can put the Big Mac in there. The drone then like winches the carrier back up into the drone. Yeah. It flies to your house. It drops the thing down and just sets it on your porch or wherever you want it to set it down. And I was like, well, that's really cool. That's a lot better, I think, than like having like an octocopter, this loud like thing just like flying all over the place. But that's of course in just like in the concept phases. Yeah. But the company who's doing it is called Zipline.
Yeah.
And they're operating now in a lot of African countries. They will use these drones to drop off like medical supplies. So they have these like launch, I'll call them launch sites, where they have these drones that look like styrofoam like RC planes.
No.
But they launch them off of like this runway with like a catapult.
No.
So that it's already like once it's going, it's already at cruising speed.
No.
And then it can automatically fly itself to the hospital and then drop a package of like O-negative blood with a parachute and then turn around and come back to the launch site.
Huh.
And Mark
like a UAV.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But like Mark Rober was talking about like these guys, they're sending 600 packages a day.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it takes, where it would take 4.5 hours to drive to the hospital because of all like the, it's in Rwanda, right? So their roads aren't
they're
here.
Not great, yeah.
It was like it takes it 30 minutes. Just flies right over the mountain, drops shit, come back. And it was really cool to see that, there's still people working on this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like this really like future tech. And it was cool to think like, public transport might go that route one day. You might have this drone that flies to your house and picks you up in a little carriage. Yeah. And it flies you to where you want to go and drops you off.
No.
I mean, that's, we always say, right, oh, that's forever away in the future, but it might not be.
Yeah, I mean, at the the introduction of the internet, who would have thought that you'd be carrying around these in your pocket?
Yeah.
You know, 20-something years later.
And all the psychological issues that come with them.
All the psychological warfare that's waged on you every day.
Every day. It's constant.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're maybe 10 years away from seeing something like that. I mean, within the next 5, you could possibly see like them introducing that maybe to like large cities like New York or like LA or something like that. Because once it hits those big markets, if it takes off and it's really successful, it doesn't take long for it to start getting out into like the smaller communities.
I think one of the biggest issues that like tech companies face is, you know,
the banking crisis.
Well, I mean, there's that, but also like as far as like integrating.
Yeah.
So if you have like this brand new state of the art tech and you want to integrate it into people's daily lives, you know, if it's so many steps ahead of everything that they currently use, there's not going to be this organic mesh of those
everything
two
else has to kind of catch up.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of times you start having to improve and upgrade things in areas that you didn't think you were going to have to make this new tech just be feasible.
That's why a lot of those companies end up selling off to larger companies, because it's like they can't sit and wait.
Yeah.
Because if they sit and wait, somebody else is going to come up with the same idea, or they're going to improve upon the idea, and then they've lost the foothold. Yeah. Or they're going to have a large company that can sink more money into something like that and operate at a loss.
Right.
Where it's like, so what do? It's like, well, if you have a company that comes to you and says, we really like your idea and we're willing to buy it from you for $3 billion.
And you're a company of like 250 people who are struggling.
Right.
You're going to be like, yes, please.
Yes, please. Here you go.
Done.
I don't ever have to do anything again.
I just think it's really interesting that, you know, well, I love to watch concept stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's cool to see like really intelligent and like, you know, talented engineers get creative.
Right.
Because they oftentimes will think about things already like, how would I build this?
Right.
So they're already thinking about the real physical application, the real like steps that it would take to make this thing a reality. Right. And, you know, one of my favorite things to watch is like videos about concept cars. Mm-hmm. I love concept cars because they have fun with them. I mean, there's, you know, they'll even build a couple of them sometimes. Like the, what was that Ford truck? The King Chief or the King Ranch or?
Yeah, King Ranch.
It was this big fucking huge thing. It had like all of the like interior was like hardwood, and like the two back seats were lazy boy recliners, and it was just like this vanity truck, you know,
the decadence of this truck.
Yeah, like they're like the driver should have like a thing that like feeds him grapes while he's driving. But I love to watch, like, you know, especially with like electric vehicles, because like a lot of the electric vehicles being made now, they're kind of aware of like, okay, this is a very futuristic thing, so we want to make it look futuristic on the inside. So when it comes to style, there's a lot of style in electric vehicles. There's more style in electric vehicles than there is in like a, you know, your typical like gas powered car. Yeah. Even on the interior. Which, I mean, let's be honest, when people are shopping for cars, they look at the interior more than anything, because that's where they spend all their time.
Right.
So like, you know, like there's like a Mercedes has like an electric vehicle like called like the S Class or something. Mm-hmm. The interior of this fucking thing it's fucking cool. It's just cool. Yeah. You know, it may not necessarily be, you know, streamlined for any kind of efficiency. Right. But it's cool. Right. You know what I mean? But one that I did see a while back was Buick, which, you know, Buick doesn't make, so they don't make sedans anymore. They only make like SUVs and stuff like that. But they had this car. If you go to Buick's website, they have like a video about this this concept EV that they're working on, or maybe not working on, but they had this concept, right? No. And you know, it's fully autonomous, it drives itself, it does this, that, and the other. But then they showed this part where it was like this woman she's like sitting in the car and it's driving her through town, and it's like a rainy, gross day outside. And then she just like swipes her hand across the windshield, and it brings up a holographic display of like a forest trail. And she's like, it's like the car's driving through a forest. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Because if there's some shit going down in front of me, I think I need to be aware of that. I can't just be sitting here staring at this forest trail. And it's like
run over someone's grandmother.
Yeah, or it's driving me straight into like a BLM riot. Like I need to be able to like take control if I have to,
right.
you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that kind of goes into whether or not electric cars are like, number one, if they're sustainable or not, because the amount of like rare earth minerals that are required in order to create those.
Super resource intensive.
Yeah, there's from what I understand, there's not enough resources in order for everyone to sort of have one of those.
Yeah, like the lithium and the cobalt,
right, the lithium
and all that stuff.
all that stuff. So, I mean, there's stuff like that, and also
what's going to have to change is the technology involved with creating batteries.
Right.
That's going to have to be the next the evolution.
So, and another thing too is that I've noticed is like for cars, I think it makes a lot of sense because there's not. You don't have to. They don't require a whole lot of torque. Is you're not going over rocks and you're not pulling a whole bunch of stuff.
You're driving on a road.
Yeah, driving on a road. I mean, it's once you get up to speed. I mean, the car pretty much sustains itself essentially. Yeah. Like you're not expending a lot of energy in order to keep up the inertia.
Yeah, your triceps aren't bleeding like aching by the time you get home.
Right,
trying to fight this thing to stay in lane.
So, but I've noticed that like Ford has created like a truck. And I'm thinking, how is it that you can put a load on an electric motor like that and think that it's going to sustain any type of
like capacity
at all? It's just going to bleed. It's going to bleed that motor.
Yeah. It's like the more power you ask of the motor, the more power it's taking from the battery.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, so you might get 500 miles off of that, but if you're pulling like
out in the salt flats.
Yeah. If you're like pulling like a small camper, like you might get 150 miles off a charge.
Yeah.
It's sort of like there's a Jeep Grand Cherokee that they have one. It's all electric. It's like I wouldn't fucking trust that.
No.
Like going out over rocks and a fucking trail somewhere.
No.
There's no way.
Especially because
smoking crack. What's wrong with you?
Especially because it's a lithium battery,
right?
And those have a hard fall off. They don't slowly decline over time, like alkaline batteries used to do. Like an alkaline battery will get weaker and weaker and weaker until it's stopped. A lithium battery just goes at 100%, and then all of a sudden it's nothing.
Yeah, it just drops off a fucking cliff.
Off. Which is what you're driving on top of when you're in a Jeep. It's like.
So yeah, I think that for like cars, it makes a lot of sense because I mean, it's the purpose of a car is to get you from point A to point B.
Yeah,
there's no
not really anything beyond that.
Yeah, there's no extraneous stuff that it has to do in the meantime.
Yeah, even then, like your EVs, like your electric cars, or most of the max range on those vehicles are somewhere like 250 to 300.
Yeah,
so it's not like a road trip car.
No,
because then you'd have to take into account time to like stop and like recharge.
Yeah, well, we don't currently have the infrastructure needed in order for you to take a road trip across America in an EV. The
issue isn't that our infrastructure was built for vehicles; it's that it was built for gasoline vehicles.
Right.
So it's electric vehicles are going to have to be able to match the range of a gasoline vehicle.
Right.
The quote unquote refueling time of a gasoline vehicle.
Yeah, which is what, like 10 minutes to fill up the tank?
If that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, you guys are going to have to get these things to stop exploding and being so expensive. It costs $20,000 to replace the batteries in a Tesla. So if those things go,
you've totaled the car.
That's it.
No.
Well,
I mean, that too, and you also have to think about what about the stress that it's putting on the infrastructure as far as like charging them.
Yeah.
For like
you're sucking all that power out of the grid.
Yeah. I mean, if you're taking it all out of the grid, I mean, if that's the case, then we need to move towards nuclear power. We have to do it. There's no excuse anymore.
Yeah.
It's like because what we consider green energy now doesn't have the ass behind it.
Yeah.
In order to get enough energy to everybody so that they can drive an electric vehicle, you would have to go to like they have like molten salt reactors, which essentially is just a big salt lick that they essentially superheat and they use it to create the steam,
which turns the turbine, creates the electricity. Yeah.
Which I mean, but it doesn't have the the waste it has waste. All the reactors have waste to them, but the waste isn't as bad as you might
like
have
uranium-235.
Yeah, like a
spent
uranium
rod.
Yeah, exactly.
Which the best we could do with that right now is just bury it.
Right.
But even if we did, like,
I don't understand why they don't shoot it into space.
Yeah, well, that's been proposed a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, and they had those centrifugal launchers. Have you seen those things?
Mm-mm.
So they have these things that they're working now. It looks like a big French horn.
Yeah.
And it's got a centrifuge in the middle of it,
Yeah.
and it just spins really fast, and then it launches shit like up in the air. And it was like they can use that to launch like satellites and things into orbit.
What if they like miscalculated and that rod just went through your house?
Yeah, it like Mach 1. Like 7 times the speed of sound.
You just get fucking vaporized.
You just turn into a mist. You just cease to be. It's like when the MythBusters people shot those people's house with that cannonball.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine sitting in your house and that cannonball just flies through your foyer?
Tally ho!
Over the top, lads! There's a YouTuber called Kyle Hill. Do you know who Kyle Hill is? He does a lot of stuff like on like science and hypothetical science and things like that. And he does a video. He did a video on nuclear waste. He was like he's like it's very frustrating that people still think that A, nuclear energy is dangerous, and B, that nuclear waste is an issue. He was like, it's neither of those things. He was like, we figured this out a long time ago. He was like, he's like, as far as what to do with nuclear waste, he was like, yes, it's true. There's not a lot you can do with it. He was like, all you really can do is just bury it. And he was like, but even if we did that for the next 300 years, he was like, it wouldn't mean anything. It would be like, an extra like 20 kilograms.
No.
Or maybe not kilograms, but you know what I mean, like the kilotons, something like that. He's like, well, over the course of 300 years, he's like, well, what is that? It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like the nuclear energy itself. It was like, once you cut that thing on,
it just runs.
It's just sitting there making power.
Yeah.
The only thing you really got to worry about is running out of the water to create steam.
Right.
It's like, but water is one of those things that it always comes back to being water.
Yeah, it doesn't go away.
It's like water is like almost like a constant, right? So you
drink it, you pee it out, turns back to water.
You pee it out, turns back into water. If you piss on the ground, it filters back down into the water table. It becomes water again.
Right.
And then it rains, it comes down. Steam goes up in the air, it condensates, it rains down. And water keeps coming back.
And then we have these big oceans out here, and the water goes up, and the salt stays, and then it comes over the land, and it rains down.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, the salt water is, like, perfect for, like, deuterium, which is, like, one of the number one fuels of a reactor.
Right.
So it's like the answer's there. We could have the power problem could be solved. It basically is solved.
Right. One of the Reddit boards that I follow is they're really big on nuclear energy.
Yeah.
And apparently there's been a concerted effort from what they say from the petroleum industry in order to discredit nuclear energy. So
it makes sense.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, it absolutely would make sense.
I mean, I don't think that you should probably have like a nuclear reactor in your car.
Well,
like Fallout.
Yeah, yeah. Not everything. Like your fucking toaster doesn't need to run on nuclear energy.
I don't want to hear uranium fever while I'm driving, driving down the
road. Maybe everybody would drive safer if they knew they're all sitting on top of their own personal fat man.
Yeah. The power of the sun in my hand.
Yeah, we're all just Dr. Octopus. Yeah, I mean, well, the petroleum industry is like the industry, right? Yeah. It's like the number one thing. Right. It's like permeated every facet of every economy of the world, over the world.
All right, well, plastics come from petroleum. I mean, there's a lot that comes from petroleum other than just gasoline and oil.
Yeah. I mean, the world economy is based on the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is based on petroleum.
Yeah, it's the petroleum dollar.
So you can't, if you flip that upside down on its head, there kind of goes all of the power that this country has.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a concerted effort right now between Russia and China in order to circumvent the U.S. petroleum dollar.
Yeah.
In order to start using, what's China's currency?
The UN?
Yeah. So they're trying to make that the distinct trading currency for like if you're doing trade with them, you're doing it in their currency, not the US dollar.
It's like people have always wondered like why when we send money to like countries, are we sending our actual physical paper money to them? It's like because that is the world money.
Yeah, that's world currency. Everybody uses it. Yeah. You could go to anywhere in the EU and hand them $20.
Yeah.
And they would accept your $20 because they accept that as currency over there. Like you couldn't take like a Mexican peso and go to Ukraine and say, here's 1,000 pesos. You'd be like, the fuck is this?
What does that mean? Nothing.
It means nothing to me. Whereas like you took like $100, you took a Benjamin over there.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah. I've seen that before.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with us exporting like our culture to like other places. Like there's a lot that goes into it other than just like everybody accepts that it's the petrodollar is what we are using for world currency. Like there's a lot of export of your culture and there's a lot of export of like different things in order to get everybody to kind of get on board.
I mean, especially when you start talking about culture, I mean like what movies do people watch the world over?
Yeah,
they watch Hollywood movies.
Right.
And TV shows. I mean, there's some stuff like, of course, like UK has their own thing, and like I'm sure you have Telemundo. People in Mexico watch their own thing, and so on and so forth.
You have like Bollywood?
Yeah, you have like India. Bollywood.
They put out a lot of movies.
Yeah, but all of the big stuff, everybody watches what comes out of Hollywood.
Right. I mean, how much money does Hollywood make when they send stuff over to China? I mean, China watches. They're constantly watching Hollywood-made movies. I mean, there's some things that they do before they send them over there.
Yeah, like take the black guy off the poster, and get rid of the lesbian kiss.
Exactly.
Things like that. I had this discussion with somebody the other day. It was talking about it seems like the whole world is involved in American politics because it basically is.
Yeah. Well, everything revolves around the American politics.
And like everybody knows who the U.S. president is. Everybody knows like what the current discourse is in America. People watch this shit, and maybe when you're detached from it, when you live across the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean, you're looking at it. It's different than being affected by it, right? Right. But maybe to some degree you are affected by it.
Well, if you live in the Middle East, you better pay attention to who's in the presidency because you might be getting bombed by them.
Yeah, Operation Shock and All.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like the videos of that? Mm-mm. It's when they started bombing Baghdad.
Oh, I remember when they did it. I remember because they had a live feed of it.
Yeah.
I think it was like we were watching it like on Fox News or something. Like when, I think I was like 11.
I was watching a video about the Highway of Death when the Iraqi forces were retreating. Mm-hmm. And the U.S. military basically like blocked them off on both sides. So there was just a bunch of Iraqi militants and civilians trapped on this highway. They couldn't go anywhere. No. And they just bombed them and kept bombing them.
Carpet bombed them.
No. I mean, I'm sure everybody listening has seen that very famous picture of like all those burned out cars and all those like crispy corpses laying everywhere. It was like, they just did that to people over there. I mean, they were in the video, they were talking about how like everybody on like the aircraft carrier was like watching it like it was an event. No. Like a sports event, and they were playing William Tell's Overture while the planes were taking off, and just it is what it is. So, I mean, if a country's capable of doing that to you, you do want to pay attention to like, okay, who's the next guy making that kind of a decision? Right. Obama.
W.
Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize, even though he's slaughtered all those children.
After he killed a U.S. citizen. Was it he drone bombed? It was like a cafe somewhere, like was it Syria?
Yeah, and a wedding and a school.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, very peaceful.
Yeah, you're a real cunt.
And you bought that $80 million house.
Yeah, in Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, with your 8 years of $400,000 salary. How did you do that? It was really impressive.
Yeah, it couldn't be that you're going to all these speaking engagements and they're paying you buku fucking bucks.
No, it couldn't be anything like that.
Because you did their bidding while you were in office, huh?
Yeah, you danced like the little puppet you are.
Yeah.
I almost said monkey, but then I was like, well,
Yeah, don't do that.
I was like, Obama's black. I probably shouldn't say that.
I mean, they all have him by the balls.
They do.
They all have him by the balls. They had Clinton by the balls. Clinton's got a lot of people by the balls, but they've got Clinton by the balls.
There's one person sucking on his balls.
Right.
Oh, Monica Lewinsky.
Yep.
You know, we'll try not to bitch about the government too much, but I think that's why Donald Trump was so disruptive. Because he didn't need the money.
Right.
He already had the money.
He already has the money.
Also, he's fucking insane.
Yeah, he's also a fucking insane person.
He was kind of like this perfect storm of, oh shit, when he came along.
Well, I mean...
And also, he got memed into being the president.
Right. Well, also, too, it's like nobody has as many, like... Nobody has like as many like audio clips as he has.
Yeah.
Like he has so many clips of him. Like I understand why he does it. Like he doesn't speak in like large terms. He doesn't use like large eloquent words.
Yeah.
Because that's not his base.
He's not a bespoken man.
Yeah. He's not a bespoken man. Like he's like a cutthroat business guy.
Yeah.
That he's concerned with money.
Yeah,
Can I make more money?
Yeah, I'm concerned with the end result here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, he's not going to go up there and, wax poetic.
Yeah.
Up there on, he's not
going to do like that circular speech stuff.
Right. He's going to be like, this was the best trade deal in all of trade deals.
It was the best trade of all time. Ask anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen is like the side-by-side comparison of Obama addressing the nation and saying that, when they killed bin Laden,
right,
and Donald Trump talking about when they killed Soleimani. And Obama was up there, he was like our U.S. Navy forces exercised, the uppermost echelon of training and resources in order to take out the terrorist criminal bin Laden. And then it cuts to Trump, and Trump goes, he died like a dog. There was no fucking decorum with this guy.
No.
None.
No.
It was like, that was one of my biggest gripes with him. It was just like,
like, could you, for just a fucking second.
Just for a second, could you treat this with a little bit of reverence?
Some fucking dignity here. Jesus Christ.
But it was funny. He died like a dog. I will give it to him that Donald Trump was quick to respond.
No.
To like anything like that. You remember when like when he bombed that Syrian airport?
Oh yeah.
They launched all those Tomahawk missiles.
Nope.
And it was like their biggest like terrorist cell was operating there, and Trump
Not
just
anymore.
wiped them out.
Yep.
And I remember because CNN had like this Syrian guy on like satellite phone, and they were trying to like coach him into saying bad things about Donald Trump, and he was like, "No, Donald Trump killed basically our Hitler."
No.
So as far as I'm concerned, he's a good guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think. As far as Trump's concerned, the thing that I liked most about him is that he didn't get us into any extra wars. Thank fucking God. Thank you. Thank you for not doing that.
Which, if it was going to be anyone, it was going to be him.
It was going to be him. So he did that, which I really appreciated. However, he was solely responsible for the 2-year lockdown that we had.
Yeah.
So
he really mismanaged
it's
COVID.
Really kind of unforgivable as far as I'm concerned. You really sent us into a tailspin there, Donnie.
Yeah. Which sucks because he was doing great those first 2 years. I mean, the economy was on the upturn.
No.
And then, of course, I think everybody the world over took a hit with COVID. But I think that he really severely mismanaged it over here.
Yes.
Like far too many people got sick than there needed to be, and like too many people lost their livelihoods. And I mean, you're talking about
not only that, but you can't just print money like it's going out of style, and then not expect there to be some ramifications like we are dealing with right now.
Yeah, the inflation that we're looking at right now.
Right, and we will continue to deal with for years to come.
Yeah, there's no quick fix to that.
No.
It happens really fast, and if it ever gets better, it's over a very long period of time.
Right. It's sort of like how easy is it for you to fuck up your life? One decision. You could make one bad decision, and it fucks up your life Forever.
I could fuck my whole life up in the next 2 hours.
You could go smoke a crack rock right now, and it would fuck up your entire life. It's like, how long does it take you to build a good life?
Yeah, on top of the rubble.
Yeah. Your whole entire lifetime, starting from a baby, with your clean slate. Yeah. How long would it take you to create a good life? 30 plus years,
something like that.
Right? You can fuck it up in 2 minutes.
Yeah, you
could murder somebody, and they'd send you to prison for the rest of your life.
And that's just your own life. You're the only person. That's the stakes. Is your own life. We're talking about the world.
Right.
The global economy.
Right.
You know, how fast do you think you can fuck that up?
Right. Exactly. Well, when you print trillions of dollars,
the whole stimulus package thing was.
Oh, and then they hired a bunch of IRS agents to go after everybody that took out the PPP loans.
You know what's cracking me up is everybody's saying that they're going after billionaires.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're going after you.
They're going after you because even though, that's where the money is that they can get.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's like the world, like, it was like, what is it, the top 1% owns 99% of the wealth?
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, but all that's hidden away.
Right.
They can't get it.
Right.
But the 1% that they can get happens to be held by us.
Right. And a lot of people seem to think that people, like, billionaires have, like, a vault like Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, they're like diving into
with all the money in it.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
It's like assets.
It's assets. Yeah. That's where all the money's tied up.
It was like they were talking about Jeff Bezos being the first trillionaire. That doesn't mean he has he's going to go to his Wells Fargo account and it says $1 trillion.
It's not even
just liquid money.
It just says $1 trillion on there.
He's like, check this out. It's like I buy a Lambo and it would still say $1 trillion. Like, no, it's like tied up in like the wealth of his company and like the things that he owns and the
his
stuff
houses and
the stakes that he has in different other companies.
Right. As like at any point he could liquidate that and get the money from it.
Yeah.
But it's sort of
and it doesn't necessarily mean he would get that much.
Right,
That's just what it's worth at the time.
That's what it's been appraised at.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like when you go to if you go to refinance your house.
Yeah.
Like whatever, like they say, like your house is worth. Mm-hmm. Like if you get your house appraised at like $300,000 and you only owe like $150,000 on it, you have $150,000.
Yeah.
That would be considered equity that you have that money that's available to you. It doesn't mean that you currently have it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It's like you have to take the steps to get it.
Right, but minus whatever your other debts would be, that would be how much you would technically be worth.
Yeah. You just have something that's worth that much.
Right.
It's like if you had, say you had a collector's edition Mickey Mantle baseball card and it's appraised at $1 million. No. That doesn't mean you have the money. You don't have the cash.
No.
You have the value.
Yeah, you have the value, which essentially the value would be somebody would be willing to pay you under the right circumstances $1 million for this baseball card.
And somebody out there would buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you ever watch Antiques Roadshow?
Oh, yeah. I used to watch that all the time.
Yeah, I love that shit. One of my favorite things to do is like watch like compilation videos of people finding out that they have like this priceless vase, made by Cleopatra. She made it with her feet or some shit. And it's like he's like, I would appraise for this vase at $40 million. And it's like some old man, and he's like, oh, wowie. He's trying not to fucking have a heart attack. I had this discussion with Mary the other day. It was like, I would hate it if I was like 70 and I won the lottery.
Yeah, what good is this to me now?
What do I do now? It makes no fucking difference.
I could have used this 40 years ago.
Yeah. It was like, it's really, like, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
when I was really getting raked over the fucking coals.
Yeah, when my dick still worked. And there wasn't pee dribbling out of me all day long. Well, before too much time gets away from us, we need to talk about our Super Cringe Thursday pick for this week.
Boy.
I knew that you were going to love this one because I know how much you love singing and
I really wouldn't classify what he did as singing.
So for those of you who didn't see it, our Super Cringe Thursday pick this week was this kid who sang his own rendition of Gangnam Style by Psy, but he changed up the lyrics to be about SpongeBob and the so attached SpongeBob characters. And the overarching thing that I got from this whole video is he doesn't seem like he wants to be doing it.
No.
It feels like there's somebody off camera like pointing a shotgun at him.
Right.
Like, if you don't do this, I'm going to blow your fucking head off.
That's how
it comes across.
You sent it to me, and I was like, who blackmailed this child? Because there was no passion in that performance at all.
There's a lot of standout lines in that one. Like, Patrick is cool even though he's retarded. Yeah,
that line really spoke to me. I was like, yes.
The whole thing is funny because it's just like, it's when we were kids, we would do stupid things like that, right?
Right.
And we would make up songs and sing songs. But it was like, aren't you glad that you didn't record that and put it on the internet?
Yeah.
Well, the Exhibit A, this kid did it.
Right.
He did it, and he got 2 million views, but the comments are off. So
that says a lot. There
says a lot.
Anytime you go to a video and the comments are off, there's a reason.
There's a good reason. It's like, I wish I could peer back in time and see what was the final straw that caused the hammer to come down on this. It's funny, too, like, he gets out of breath within, like, the first 30 seconds of doing this, but he carries it through all the way to the end.
Yeah. Real trooper, this kid.
There's all these parts where he misses, like, the cue to come back in, and he'll, like, start dancing, and it's, like, quiet, and he'll stop, and he'll start going again when the music starts.
And it's not really, he's kind of shuffling around.
Yeah.
I think that's more apt description of what this child is doing.
And he keeps doing finger guns.
Yeah, finger guns.
He keeps doing this.
And then he has like the stuffed SpongeBob sitting on the computer chair next to him.
At one point, he punches it off the chair.
Does he?
Yeah. He's like, because the whole time he's singing about SpongeBob and how cool SpongeBob is.
Yeah.
And then, like, he's just kind of dancing around, and then he just fucking punches the, like the anger welled up in him. He was like,
oh, I'm so glad I'm not a child during this time and age. And it looked like that was filmed on a potato.
Yeah, like an iPhone 3.
Yeah.
Very, very early.
Yeah.
He
probably played like Roller Coaster Tycoon after that.
Yeah. Gangnam Style was, you and I have had several conversations about like the golden age of YouTube. And I think that Gangnam Style was the death rattle of that era of YouTube.
You think so?
I think because immediately after Gangnam Style came and went, YouTube totally changed. There was a shift in what people watched. I think what it is YouTube was popular, Gangnam Style happened, and it drew the attention of everyone.
Right.
All the remaining people who weren't big into YouTube.
Right. Was this pre or post Adpocalypse?
Oh God, when was Adpocalypse? Was that?
I think that was like directly after. I think Gangnam Style. If I'm thinking about this correctly, you would be correct in saying that Gangnam Style was sort of like the tail end of like the golden age of YouTube. Whereas like after that, like you said, it drew so many eyes to YouTube.
Yeah.
That I think advertisers were like, oh.
Yeah, we gotta kind of change up our formula.
Yeah, we
here.
have to, instead of spending all this money on like legacy, like Fox, CNN, like all these, like we'll put our advertising here.
Because this is where everybody's looking.
This is where all the eyes are at.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
My advertisement's on what video?
Yeah. Yeah. 2 Girls, 1 Cup, re-uploaded, 4K, 60 frames per second upscaled. 10-hour version. Yeah, so I think that, I think what happened was, Gangnam Style got billions upon billions of views. Very fast. No. Very, very fast. And, that drew everybody else who wasn't a part of, like, YouTube, came to YouTube. And people then at that point started seeking out, like, what else is on this site, stuff that I want to watch, things like that. And people started kind of breaking off into these segments, right? So you had people who started doing, I'm a YouTuber who does YouTube videos about this. I'm a YouTuber who does YouTube videos about that. So there was kind of a thing for everybody to watch. So YouTube went from people trying to release the one video to capture the whole of YouTube's attention to hundreds of thousands of people releasing hundreds of thousands of videos for their little
trying to
segment,
capture an audience.
Their little audience.
Right.
This little like segmented piece of YouTube. So I think that Gangnam Style was like the catalyst that caused that to become what it is today. And because you think about it, it used to be, people would be like, have you seen Gangnam Style? Well, yeah, I've seen Gangnam Style. Have you seen, Charlie Bit My Finger? It's like there was always this one video like each month that everybody saw.
Like the little girl that used to say, I smell like beef.
Yeah, I smell like beef. It was just shit like that.
Exactly.
Now it's like, we had said before, it's very common to come across a video that has hundreds of millions of views that you've never even heard anyone talk about.
Well, just the size of YouTube has it's grown so exponentially.
Yeah.
Like it's
just unwieldy at this point, yeah.
I had heard it's something like it's like 4,000 hours get uploaded every 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Some insane amount of like.
It's not something that can be reviewed by a human all the time.
Right.
That's why you have stuff that slips through the cracks a lot of times.
Well, I've always said, especially like because YouTube Kids is a different thing than like YouTube. Yeah. So like in order to get on YouTube Kids, like it's supposedly you're supposed to have content that is safe for advertisers.
Yeah.
All of it is safe for advertisers. Yeah. And that's why a lot of like the biggest channels, the ones that make the most money
are for kids.
Because all advertisers want to advertise on these channels.
Like Ryan's World.
Yeah, Ryan's World, Coco Melon, like all the kid friendly stuff. And I think that especially too, like with the kids channel, in order to get on there, I think that it should probably have to be reviewed by somebody at YouTube. Like they should have like a team of like 100 people or something, 50 people. And like that should probably be your job is to like review these videos. And however long it takes to get it onto YouTube Kids, that's how long it takes.
I mean, I think the majority of it is being done by algorithms and bots.
Right.
And I'm sure soon enough they'll implement an AI to do this kind of thing. Yeah. But it's going to take a lot of trial and error to get that working correctly. I've always wondered, like, I bet you I could make a YouTube video for kids. I bet you I could make YouTube content for kids.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be anything.
No.
It's just like you have like a blue square and like a red square come up and they just kind of bump into each other for a while, then make 6 minutes of that. And
there's like laughing noises.
Yeah, there's 800 million views right there.
Right.
It's like, have you ever like seen content farm videos?
Mm-mm.
So content farm videos, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's these just like this thing that's this automated thing that's making videos where it'll have like character models and like ripped from all kinds of different things. Like you might have the Scout from TF2 and then like Thanos, and like they're like playing on a carousel, and it's just automatically making just something.
Yeah.
And it'll throw like these stock sound effects over it, and then it'll go through the whole process of like titling it and uploading it and everything. And it gets hundreds of millions of views because kids are just watching shit happen.
Right.
Kids are not really paying attention to like, what they're not looking at what's going on here.
No.
They just see flashing colors and fart sounds and they love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what, I try to be as careful as I can as far as YouTube's concerned, because I know that the moderation on especially even with the kids YouTube app, is like it's not where it should be. So we've really tried to stay away from like YouTube as far as like just here, watch this.
Yeah, being like a surrogate.
Yeah, like in the morning, like if she's eating breakfast or something, like giving her something to watch, like while we're finishing getting like all of her stuff ready for school.
Yeah.
Like now it's just like, oh, watch Big Comfy Couch, because I know that. Yeah, there's no type of shenanigans with Big Comfy Couch, because I watched it as a kid, so you should be okay.
The FCC has already watched this. Just out of curiosity, a second ago, I looked up how many views Gangnam Style is at right now. It's 4.7 billion.
Jeez Louise.
That's over half of the Earth's population.
Well, what's it? It's like who has the most? Is it Mr. Beast now has the most subscribers? Did he pass?
Like I think
T-Series and PewDiePie.
I think like put together he does because he has several channels.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's like something like 200 million. But I don't know if that's really a fair comparison because, a lot of those people are probably the same people.
Right.
Subscribed to several channels.
Right. I mean, I've watched a couple. I don't know if I'm subscribed to his channel or whatever, but I mean, I've watched some of his videos. I think they're fairly entertaining.
Yeah,
I think that he does a really good job of like trying to keep you engaged with the videos as it goes along.
Yeah,
like there's one where they play like hide and seek like in an abandoned like hospital.
Yeah,
I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
like that's something that I would have enjoyed doing.
Yeah, like if I was younger or whatever.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, whoever wins gets like $100,000. And they kind of throw that in there.
Yeah, there's that little fantasy. Yeah. Like, oh, what would I do with $100,000? Right. I'd probably lose it all.
Right.
I watched his Squid Games video.
No.
That one's really cool because he basically recreated that whole show.
Yeah.
I like to watch like behind the scenes things with him and like hear him talk about. I like to hear him talk about like his process and like what it took to do this and that and the other. Just because he's so focused on that. Like, you can definitely tell, like, you can't have much of a conversation with him outside of anything.
No, he's
regarding YouTube.
He's very driven as far as like creating YouTube content is concerned.
And he's like 26. Like, he's a young dude.
Yeah.
And he's laser focused on this. And it's working for him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
He got Twitter mad at him a while back.
Oh,
for his one video where he cured the blindness of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And people got mad at him for I don't even know what.
Like helping people?
For helping people? And it was like, he's like, it's not charity if you film it and profit off of it. And it was like, the dude has said time and time again, the only reason he's able to help people is because because it makes money. He uses videos to make money. And like all of his money, all the money that he makes goes back it goes to the next video.
Right.
It goes to the next charity thing. And like nobody is more charitable than fucking Mr. Beast at this point.
Right. Like actual, like not like actual philanthropy, not like what Bill Gates does.
Yeah. Yeah, where he's trying to get everybody to eat bugs.
Yeah.
I think what people were mad about was the fact that
he took a mirror and did like this.
Well,
and
that. But like, it was a 10-minute surgery, and people's lives were changed, were flipped around, and it was like, we've put this, quality of life behind a paywall for hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. Right. It was like the only reason they can't get there is just because they can't pay the money to get there. And it was like, should people have to suffer with blindness just because they can't get this one little surgery, one little 10-minute nothing surgery?
Right. And from what I understand, and I remember reading about this, is that he essentially asked those people, he's like, regardless, like, I'll still pay for your surgery. He's like, but do you mind if like we film like afterwards and like we talk about this?
Yeah. And I'm sure if you're a blind person and you had the opportunity to see again, you were like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I don't care.
I mean, I'm sure that there were some people who were like, I don't really feel comfortable being on camera and talking about it. Yeah. But from what I understand, he still paid for their surgery.
Yeah. I think people just like to be mad.
Well, right.
I think that people like to be mad about problems more than they like to receive a solution to that problem.
Right. Exactly.
Because I think that it gives people it gives people without any direction something to be a part of.
Right.
Just be a part of this outrage.
Right. Well, I know that there was another one where he gave a bunch of shoes to, I guess, like some kids in Africa or like a village over there in Africa. He gave them all shoes, which that's a big deal over there because like you said, the roads aren't great in a lot of spots over there.
They have like floors in their homes.
Exactly. It's like, and if you cut your foot on a fucking piece of glass or something, it's like
you catch an infection.
It's like you can't go anywhere. You can't get in a fucking car.
Yeah.
And like you walk everywhere. Like, so shoes are a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to have a fucking decent pair of shoes over there that you can like walk to places. It's like, and people were like calling him a fucking colonizer, and they love that word now.
That word means nothing now. It doesn't fucking mean anything anymore. It's like gentrification. People use gentrification for anytime a white person does something, they call it gentrified. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think that word means.
Right. Well, it's sort of like, it's like if you call everything a Nazi, it's like then then Nazi doesn't mean anything. You've taken whatever that word is, and you just bastardize it. Now nothing is a Nazi because everything's a Nazi.
And it makes it easy for actual Nazis to blend in with the things that you're calling
all
a Nazi.
You have done as you have made it easier for the actual people that are Nazis to hide amongst normal people. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Yeah, congratulations, you just made it easier for Nazis.
Right.
Thanks.
I guess finally we should bring up the fact that old TikTok got drug in front of Congress to answer for what it is that they're doing.
Yeah, the CEO went out there and, I don't know the guy's name, but he was giving his very best attempt to make it seem that TikTok isn't the Chinese spyware aggregator that it is.
No.
And all the congressmen or representatives, whoever it was that was grilling this guy, and they were grilling that guy.
Oh yeah, some of them got him pretty good.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts was that lady who was like, does TikTok ban or cleanse any mention of the Tiananmen Square massacre from its platform? And the guy goes, what?
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you heard me, buddy. Tiananmen Square massacre. It's you had some of them who were asking the guy very legitimate questions,
right?
Security concerns, whatever. But then you had like these old dudes up there who didn't understand, like they don't understand anything more mechanically complicated than a toaster oven,
right?
And I was telling Wesley there was one guy who was like, "Does TikTok have access to my home Wi-Fi internet access?" And the guy was like, well, yeah, I mean, if you let it. It's like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, it has to access the internet to operate. Like, so, you're kind of discrediting your position when you get there and you ask a stupid fucking question like that.
You would imagine, like, who was his interns that let him, like, do you think that he's like, I got a real zinger that's going to get him?
I would imagine.
And then he ran it by his interns. They're like, sir, don't ask that question.
He like threatened to fire him.
Yeah. He like got up there. He's like, I'm going to fucking ask it anyway. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, God.
Oh, jeez. Jeez Louise, Grandpa.
But for anybody that doesn't, like, understand essentially what TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is its parent company that operates out of the CCP, which is
Communist Chinese Party.
Yeah,
the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, Chinese Communist Party. And so essentially what TikTok does is that it is constantly collecting all of your information off of your phone. So if I had TikTok on my phone, it would be collecting information as far as my banking account is concerned, as far as my passwords are concerned for any account that I have on my phone. It essentially, like, when you agree to the TikTok terms of service, you're essentially allowing it access to everything that you have in your operating system on your phone.
Every single thing. Yeah.
So not only that, but people who have TikTok on their phones that have access to your home Wi-Fi, and you're also on the home Wi-Fi, that app also has access to everything on your phone, even if you don't have it on your phone.
You just have to be near somebody who has TikTok.
Exactly.
And they're in your shit.
And one of the big things for Congress, the thing that finally broke the camel's back, was that TikTok was actively monitoring the location of journalists, I think through Forbes, that were writing stories on TikTok, how they were essentially doing all these things,
all this illegal shit.
Yeah. So they were actively taking that information and sending it back to China, so that China would know where these journalists are.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a form of doxing almost.
Yeah, and from what I understand, they essentially admitted it in front of Congress.
Yeah. Yeah, so say bye-bye to TikTok, everybody. It's gone.
Right.
At least I hope it is. I see no reason that it would survive after that, after that deposition.
Well, not only that, but it's been proven that the algorithm in China is completely different than the algorithm that's used here in America.
As far as what's being shown to people.
As far as what's being shown to people. So in China, a lot of let's be honest, like, it's the younger generation that's using TikTok. It's not
really me and you.
Yeah, I mean, some people our age are using it, but I mean, for the most part, it's the Gen Z kids that are coming up and the ones behind them. So in China, they're getting things like STEM, like science, technology, engineering, math,
Yeah.
like a lot of like projects like kids can do, and like they're really pushing like learning, like that's
In
what's
academia.
in academia
Yeah.
and everything like that. Over here, that's not the case.
That's not what you see.
Over here, you get people that are doing stupid fucking dances,
Yeah.
and then you see everybody rolling their fucking eyes while they're trying to go to their fucking desk job 9 to 5
Yeah.
in the middle of fucking New York City.
Or people who are like, here's top 10 things that you didn't know were white supremacy.
Yeah.
Number 1, dairy. Number 2,
Coffee.
coffee. Number 3, you.
Or my favorite is like the people that are doing the thing now where it's like they're claiming that they don't identify as human.
Is there a transhuman thing now?
Frog and frog self was one that I saw. You fucking believe that? I mean, at this point, nothing surprises me anymore.
Oh
so
my
I mean,
God. You know what? If somebody, you know, oh my God, you're gonna make me break the non-aggression
you know,
principle. If somebody came up to me and said, I identify as a frog, you may refer to me as frog self or whatever.
I'm gonna punch him in the throat.
I would just physically assault that person. There is no other recourse than to physically assault this person and beat them perhaps to death.
Well, I mean,
What are you supposed to do when somebody says something like that to you? You have no place in a civil society if you believe that kind of shit.
well, I mean, not only that, but there's so many people that are traveling down this path of insanity.
Yeah.
There was stuff like that where it's like,
Do you think it started out ironically at first and then people took it seriously?
perhaps,
Like with everything?
perhaps, but I mean, at this point, it's sort of like people. It's eventually going to get to the point where that's going to be accepted in society, and you're going to have to refer to if you're going to be somebody that operates in civil society.
Yeah.
You're going to have to bow down to this insanity of whatever this is. And then these people are going to then assume positions of power in their local community, and with like the school board or like whatever, city council.
That's already happened. There's
City
people,
council, and then what
Yeah.
you're going to have is people will be like, we need to fill the potholes. It's like, we need to address this. Like, our infrastructure is fucking crumbling.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes, no, I think what we need to do is we need to address the aggression towards frog and frog self people. And it's like, but you can't fight this insanity.
No.
Because all it is it just it gums up the fucking works.
Yeah. Because it also requires you to draw a line in the sand. It requires you to make a hard stance and say, this is what is legit and this is what is not.
Right.
And the people who are on the is not side are going to get very loud and defensive when you say that everything you're doing is stupid and doesn't make any sense and it's obviously dumb. And everybody over here is acceptable.
Right.
It was like, so we keep moving the line further and further and further before finally it's just going to be this fucking big mishmash of people who don't know what the fuck they even are anymore.
Right.
And it's happening so fucking fast. And you're talking about these people being in positions of power. That shit is happening now.
Right.
Who was the guy that it was Joe Biden's
You mean the guy that was
minister-
stealing all those clothes from people?
Yeah, the minister of like nuclear waste or something like that. Yeah, that dude is a fucking freak.
No, he's a fucking freak show.
Freak.
Stealing all those fucking women's clothing from fucking
stealing-
airports.
Yeah, women's clothing and stuff, and like he was like some kind of like dominatrix dog man thing, and like what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. And then like you have all these people like at the New York Times writing these stories about how brave this person is. It's like, no,
Stunning and brave.
Yeah,
Stunning and brave.
He's a fucking psychopath that goes around stealing clothes from people's baggage at the fucking airport.
He needs help, is what he needs. He doesn't need validation. He needs help.
Right.
Help this man.
I don't understand what we're doing. I don't get it. Like I understand being kind to people and being like, listen, whatever you want to do, it's as long as it doesn't negatively impact me or mine, I don't care. Do it. But however, when you, like you said, like when I said, when you get into positions of power and you have people that are gumming up the works and making it harder for everybody else in society because you're trying to apply whatever this is to this very small group of people. It's like, no, you're number one, you're a fucking person.
Yeah.
It's like, so us fixing our infrastructure is the most important thing because we have to help the collective.
Yeah. We got to work on that stuff first before we can even worry about how, what, who, or when we identify as.
Right.
Like, all that stuff is very secondary.
Yeah, we have enough fucking problems over here as opposed to, like, what it is the fuck that you're talking about.
Yeah.
First of all, let's get all that fucking money back from Ukraine.
Yeah.
all that taxpayer money that we're never going to see again.
No. That's gone.
Yeah, it's like, if you think that Ukraine's going to fucking pay that back as like, well, I got some fucking oceanfront property in Arizona I'd like to sell you.
Yeah. Yeah, how much does Afghanistan owe us at this point?
Exactly. Do you think you ever going to get that money back?
That's gone.
No, that's gone.
Nope. That's all gone.
That's sunken cost. Right back to the taxpayer.
I agree with you on, you should be kind. You should be kind to people, and you should, as long as they aren't bothering you or physically harming you, it doesn't really matter what people are doing. But when you are in a position of power, when you are making choices that affect innocent people, when you have a following, when you have power to any degree, that has to come first.
First and foremost.
If you are a servant of the public, if you're a public servant, and that's any position of governmental authority.
Right. If you are being paid by taxpayer money.
You have to put all of them first. You have to put the public first before yourself. You cannot come up and say, I am a frog and I dress like a woman. And that is the first thing we are going to establish, and then I'm going to worry about helping you people.
Right.
And if the people can't get past the fact that I'm a frog lady, then we're not gonna fix anything. Then I have an issue with that.
Like, I could, like, if you got somebody that went up there and wore a fucking green frog suit and said, I'm frog self, and I'm here to fix the infrastructure. Yeah. I don't give a fuck. You know what? Yeah. I'll fucking vote for you. It's like, as long as you promise to fix all these fucking potholes, that's all I fucking care about.
Yeah. It's like, I can get on board with you fixing the roads. And then there's the frog portion of this. But if the frog thing is first, I'm not getting past that, man. It's just, it's concerning. It's really concerning when you see that we are being outpaced rapidly by the whole rest of the entire world. Right. In almost every area, in economic growth, in academia, in fucking society, in civility. We're being rapidly outpaced by the whole rest of the world. And over here, we're still trying to figure out, well, we're backstepping, okay? Nobody knows what a male or a woman is anymore. People believe in a flat earth. People think they're frogs. People,
what the fuck is going on?
What happened?
Yeah. When did this take a turn?
And it was, you can't even.
It all started with Harambe.
Yeah.
Ever since then, it's just been fucking downhill.
That was the catalyst. He was the butterfly moment, right? Unreal.
Well, do we have any readouts for I'm Sorry this week?
No, we do not. No corrections this week.
We're doing pretty good then.
Yeah, I guess we're staying on track. I guess we need to get more. What's the word? Not offensive.
Judgmental.
Maybe not judgmental. Something with a C. Not. Why am I blanking on this fucking word? When you hear something that causes a ruckus amongst the public.
Conflict?
Controversial.
Controversial, yeah. Well, we just talked about frog and frog self people. And we did touch on transgenderism, so I mean that should maybe
if you identify as a frog lady, please send us a message and let us know why you are.
I think a lot of it is people are becoming more like they're like online all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely the chronically online thing. I think that people have a hard time finding who they are and what they belong to. People want something to belong to.
Right.
And if they don't get accepted anywhere else, they just make up this own little thing for themselves.
Go touch grass, people.
Yeah, it's the fucking imaginary friend thing all over again, but compounded upon to insanity.
Go touch grass.
But yeah, so thank you everybody for listening.
That took a turn right there at the end, didn't it?
It did. If you guys have anything you'd like us to talk about, or if there's anything that we said that we were wrong about, make sure you shoot us a message and you let us know. If you guys want our advice or our input on anything, we'd be more than happy to give that. Not that you should listen to it, but we will give it to you. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure you share and you leave a like and a rating on your preferred podcast platform. That way we can grow our visibility. Maybe one day we'll be able to run ads again, but I don't foresee that happening.
Nope.
I think we'll have autonomous vehicles before we even get there. Yep. Do you have anything you'd like to close with?
Nope. Just same as always. Thank you so much for the continued support. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to share with those around you. Like Gary said, we can't run ads, so our reach is limited. Yeah. So if you could, let people know that you're really enjoying the podcast. It helps when you leave a like or a rating or a review on your preferred platform. So just again, thank you so much for the continued support. We really do appreciate it.
Yep. Well, all right, everybody. That's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.